Okay, hi everyone, I'm Sean, and today we are doing the Nope, not November. Strong start. Hi everyone, I'm Sean, and today we are doing the December wrap-up. Okay, first we have to make two disclosures. First, these aren't really books I read in December, they're more books I read in October and November. Part of the reason for the delay is because of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I didn't really like very much, but that's the point for another video, which I probably won't ever make. But this also leads us to our second issue. You may notice I am missing my friend Snowflake. He is okay, but he's had a bit of some medical problems. Unfortunately, it looks like Snowflake is approaching the end of his life. He's an old bird. He's about 15 years old. He's been my best friend for a long time. A couple weeks ago he had some seizures, which are pretty common, I guess, for parakeets. But he's a strong little guy. He's recovered pretty well. This past week I let him out of the cage and he was able to fly around, and he functions really well, but yesterday he had another seizure, so it looks like his days of flying and being on booktube are probably at an end. He probably has to retire from that. But he's still doing well. He may make some cameo appearances every now and then. Okay, now, not the videos. Thanks, Sean, stupid idiot. The books that I'm reviewing today come off of a list of 1,000 books to read that I'm working on. I did not know about any of these books or the authors before starting reading them. Something I like to do is I like to go in blind reading books. I don't like to know anything about the book, what it's about. I don't like to know about the author. I just like to start a book without knowing anything about it, read it, and either the author will pull me in with their writing or they won't. Should I lose the hat or should I keep the hat? I'll keep it for a little while. The first book is Sister Carrie by, I don't know how to say his name, Theodore Drezier? I think Dreiser sounds better. So when I started this book, as I read the first chapter, the start of the chapter was only so-so, but when I finished the first chapter, I thought, hey, this could be pretty good. This could be a 5-star book. It wasn't because the writing was especially good. In fact, I thought the writing was kind of only so-so. But for what the author was trying to do, I think, it was pretty well written. It's difficult to explain what I mean, but I'll use this expression every now and then about how a book, for what it aims to do, it does well. An example of that would be like if you cook some kind of a meal, which you don't intend to be a gourmet dish, it's just something you whip up at home. For what you are trying to do, you may do it very well. Now, that doesn't mean it's the same as, a 5-star gourmet meal. So that's what I mean. For what he was setting out to do, I thought it was pretty well written. I'm sure that doesn't make sense, but I can't explain it any better than that. Now, some booktubers will hold the book like this the entire review, but my arm is already getting tired, so this is going bye-bye. As I began to read Sister Carrie, something that stood out to me was how the author would start to have these very kind of philosophical sections. It was almost like essays where he would go into some details about the character or the morals of the time. And the way he wrote it was very much from the present day, from his perspective. The book is set some decades in the past, but what the author did is he would say things like, in that time they had this, unlike today where we have jets and whatever. So that was a little bit bizarre, the way he would compare the setting of the book with the modern day that Dreiser lived in. But as the book went on, he would pepper these philosophical scenes in basically each chapter. He would have some philosophical section. And I really did not like that. I liked when it just stuck to the narrative about Sister Carrie. I thought I wanted Dreiser to return to the narrative about Carrie because I was enjoying it fairly well. But as it went on, I began to not even like the narrative so much. The story was just going in a direction I did not like. Ultimately, I got bored with the book and just finally read the synopsis in the introduction saying about the history of the book and what made the book so special. And I won't really go into it, but Carrie wound up marrying one guy, but then she went off to another, and she never pays for her adultery or whatever you want to call it. In fact, she does well. She has a good life. She prospers despite going from one guy to the other. And apparently in that time, that was a big taboo because you're supposed to pick one husband and stick with him your whole life. And she goes from one guy to the other and does fine. So people at the time were like, oh, how can you do that? She needs to have some kind of consequences for her sin. So at the time, the book was real controversial for that reason. I can understand that. I can respect that. But I still did not find the book very entertaining. I did not like the way it was written. I did not like the philosophical sections of the book. So personally, I would give Sister Carrie 2 stars. If nothing else, reading the book made me want to read a different story. I just wanted Carrie to go in a completely different direction. But that's not the way it went, but oh well. Hey, before I forget, because I already forgot, I did try to give Sister Carrie a lot of time to try to pull me in. I gave it longer than I would ordinarily give books because I really did kind of have a good feeling about the book. I thought I really would enjoy it if I just continued on, but I never did. So the second book for our December wrap-up is Robert Burton, or is it Burton Robert? There's a comma after it. It must be Robert Burton. Some Anatomies of Melancholy. This is a book that I started, I read a few lines, and I just knew that nope, I was not reading this book. It was doing nothing for me. I knew it wouldn't do anything for me. I like to think I am a fairly smart person. Many of you who watch this or follow me on Twitter may disagree. But I tried reading this book and I just couldn't make heads or tails out of it. So I read the back of the book, or the synopsis or whatever. See, there I go being smart. And apparently the book was written back in the 1500s or 1600s. Or something like that. And I do appreciate history, but for this book, I just felt it was complete garbage. It did not make any sense. I did not see how it could possibly be enjoyable. I thought it was just trash. And to show you, I'll read a paragraph from this. I don't know if you're actually allowed to do that, but oh well, it's in the context of a review, so I'm doing it anyway. Beer, comma, if it is over new, comma, or over stale, comma, over strong, comma, or not sod, comma, smell of the cask, comma, sharp, comma, or sour, comma, is most unwholesome, comma, frets, comma, and galls, comma, etc. Henricus Aurelius, comma, is a constellation of his, comma, for one that labored of hypochondriacal melancholy, comma, discommends beer, period. So doth Crato, comma, in the excellent counsel of his, comma, lib period 2 comma console period 21 comma as to Wendy comma because of the hop period. But he means comma be like comma that thick comma black Bohemian beer used in some other parts of Germany. Just what the hell? I mean, this is just garbage. I mean, I'm sorry, I do love history, I do appreciate historical value of stuff, but this does not have historical value. I don't care. This book is just trash, it's garbage. And sorry, book. Okay, and that brings us to our third book, which is The Book of Ebenezer LePage by G.B. Edwards. This book started out a lot like Sister Carrie. The first chapter was kind of blah, but by the end of it, I was like, okay, I think I could go with this. This could be a decent book. The book is written very much in kind of a Victorian style, or not Victorian, maybe it's pre-Victorian. It's like kind of like Jane Austen-ish. It's really pretty dry, wordy. You know, basically Jane Austen. It's unenjoyable. The book tries to delve into some different characters of this guy's Ebenezer's family, especially like his aunts in the early part of the book. But I just really did not enjoy this book. I didn't read too far into it, maybe about 50, maybe 75 pages, and it just was not working for me. So I don't really know why this book was on that top 1000 list, because I just saw nothing particularly good about it. One other thing is, even though it's written in kind of this older English style, the book I think was actually published in like 1950 something. So it's not an old book. So 1-star reviews are more for books that I really have a problem with. For this book, it was just not for me. So I would either leave it unrated or give it 2 stars. It's not terrible. It's not like a book I hate. And we'll get into some of those.